Okay, we're back. And we're gonna head into Swamp. Probably not have too much trouble in here, of course. You never know. Could always auto-explore into Hydra and have a bit of a problem, you know? We already have our poise, which is very good in this place. If not, we probably would have popped on Swamp Dragon armor as soon as we could. Not too worried about this bog body since we do have our cold. Got to keep in mind that that'll make frost clouds if it is shooting over water. So you want to be careful about your positioning. In here, if you're playing a bow user and you care a lot about your ammo stockpile, for example, if you're not worshipping Okawaru, you want to be very careful not to tab. I'm tabbing because, well, I am worshipping Okawaru and I'm probably never going to run out of arrows. So, yeah. But if I wasn't worshipping Okawaru, I would make sure to use the dot button to have my my arrows stop short. I'd probably lure things out of the water and not fire on them if they were in the water, so on and so forth. But we're just getting arrows so quickly, especially with Faith, that those kinds of optimizations are just not necessary. Just distractions, really. Hoping that we find portal projectiles soon. That'll be icing on the cake. We've got some hornets here and quite a few, and I don't want to get paralyzed and owned by these guys. So let's do cloud just to be sure that, yeah, these things will die of poison if they paralyze me. So fine, that was worth a charge. Hornets are not to be messed with. They're one of those rather obnoxious enemies where they're very easy to kill, and you get this sort of impression that, well, I'm never going to have a problem with this. It hasn't done anything to me before, because maybe it slows you, which is very bad, but not as bad as it paralyzing. You know, maybe it slows you, maybe it poisons you. Relatively rare in my experience for it to paralyze you. I don't know what the chances are. But when it does paralyze you, if things are around, or sometimes even if things aren't, it's going to be a rude awakening, especially since you tend to run into these things when your defenses aren't great. And unless you're an AC heavy character, your defenses are going to turn to crap while you're paralyzed anyway. So all in all, you should take them seriously, even if you don't, even if you've never been paralyzed by them before and think it can't happen. Well, trust me, it can. Anyway, here's one of those thorn hunters I was talking about in the last video. We're going to take a step back, take another step back, and we're going to fire at this thing. And we're going to go up the stairs if we have any sort of problem. They can make these briar patches. Oh, man. Oh, geez. Okay, hold on. We're in some real trouble now. Let me think about this. How much can they do? I know it's a lot. 3d18, so 60-ish. And of course this mosquito next to me. Oh, and I have scattershot. The problem with these guys is they just have a lot of hit points, like 100, and their defenses are actually, they're okay, I guess, but they do so much damage. Let's lightning rod him, and cool, it dies. Lightning rod I find to be surprisingly reliable. It hit, maybe this is just, maybe I'm wrong, I have not looked up how accurate it actually is, but in my experience, lightning rod hits very regularly, like way more than a lightning wand. I invite anybody to correct me if I'm wrong about that, but yeah, in my experience, it usually hits, and so I like to use it as a relatively reliable way to hit something that needs to die right now. I really should look these things up, probably, but I mean, who has time to go through the code, really? I try to play optimally when I can, but I don't think it's reasonable to expect any player who wants to win on a regular basis to go through the code. This is a bit annoying. I'll lightning rod this thing. Don't want to get paralyzed next to a shambling mangrove. Let's make sure... Wow. Yeah, he can do quite a lot of damage. Let's pog away from this. Much better. But yeah, I don't think it's reasonable to expect any player who wants to find out what the optimal move is to have to go through the code. Now, with that said, this is an open source game and it's developed by people who are volunteering. They don't make any money off of it. I don't think anybody really makes any money off of it. So I don't think they even accept donations, actually. So nobody's making money off of it. People are doing it in their spare time, and it's a group of developers who I don't have any idea how they agree on anything. Maybe that's explains some of the oddness of some of the decisions that I've seen. But the bottom line is, I still don't think that it's reasonable to expect, like, if you want to make the optimal choice, you've got to go through the game's code. But with that said, the game in general does a really good job, way better than it did historically, of giving you access to certain information, certain numerical information directly in the game. I mean, I don't think it's even reasonable for a new person to know how to use Beam. I mean, knowing this kind of syntax here and things like that, the way that I play, I couldn't imagine not being able to do that and seeing exact numbers. But most of this is available in the game now. It is a bit obnoxious that you still can't see this in the game. Like, I should be able to see that it does up to 60 or a little bit below damage. Because, well, if I go over here, I can see that it can bite for 13 damage maximum, and that it has this effect, but if it had like a spell ability, I wouldn't be able to see how much damage it did. But this information wasn't something that we used to have. This information is not something we used to have, so I think it's a step in the right direction. And I think that it's not... I don't think it's against the design philosophy of the game, and I think the game is moving in that direction. It's just which developer wants to spend the time to do it. And I think that that's one of those features that is like useful, but it's not terribly sexy. So it's just gonna be not the easiest to get somebody to spend time on it. And I understand that. I actually am working on a game myself, and I completely get only wanting to work on the features that you find to be fun, or you find to be interesting. And of course, it's very easy to procrastinate. And I believe they call it bike shedding, where you change the names of things around and work on things that, you know, it makes you feel like you're doing work, but you're not. I totally get that. So it's not to say these guys are lazy. I think I have some differences of opinion about what should be a priority and what shouldn't. Like, I think that in general, if you can just improve the quality of life over the course of a game, that's probably one of the best things that you can do for your player base. But it also depends on what the goal is. I mean, if you make the game too user-friendly, somebody is going to complain about casualization or whatever. Or if you make the game too easy, I guess. Although I'm not really talking about making the game easier in terms of the mechanics. I'm just talking about making more information immediately available. I think it's silly if someone dies because they didn't know that crystal spear could do 100 damage to them. Like if I go to, here's a common early game monster that shows up earlier than you can handle it. So you've got this unique monster named Irolcha. It's the ogre mage if you don't know. And you may have some conception of, okay, it's a unique monster, it's probably tough. But if you're not familiar with any of these spells, and you just see that it can hit for 20 damage, you might think, well, this stuff doesn't look fun, but I'm going to give it a shot. But then if you actually, if this stuff told you how much damage some of this stuff did, like Crystal Sphere, I mean, it says, Crystal Spear says that it hurls a lethally sharp shard of crystal. But this flavor text, you can't really rely on flavor text to tell you what a spell does. I mean, yeah, it says lethally sharp, and that can tell you it does a lot of damage, but, Stone Arrow says it fires a sharp spine of rock. It doesn't say lethally, but my point is there's no real... The power of language is such that one person might see this and think, oh, it's dangerous, and the other person might see it and think, wow, I better stay away, it's super dangerous. So, without the actual numbers available to you, I mean, if I go and I look up Irolcha, I see that the Crystal Spear is capable of doing over 60 points of damage. 69, if my math is not off. 69 damage, so, most characters, when they run into Irolcha, probably don't even have 70 hit points, or if they do, they have maybe a little bit above it. So, your average new player might see this and say, oh, I gotta get away, if they actually saw the numbers. But I mean, that's... Oh, we're on the branch end. I wasn't even paying attention. Looks like we've gotten the simulacrum, like, cold, the cold ending of this branch. And we've run into a gargoyle ghost, which, for reasons I don't understand, he has memorized Toxic Radiance. I'm not even sure. I thought gargoyles had crappy poison apt. I guess it's 0. It's not too bad. Well, his defenses are insane, as you might expect for a gargoyle. Let's cloud him and hope that we get some... Well, we got nothing useful. Of course, as a ghost, he's immune to poison. We're going to Heroism. We'll Finesse. And we'll just start shooting. He can't hit for too much damage. It's just that I don't think we can kill this thing. I probably just wasted this Finesse and this Heroism. I guess I'm able to shoot past him and kill the rest of this stuff. Oh, good. He doesn't have much hit points. And check this out. 3 exclamation points. So we are tearing through his hit points. Actually, he has 110. It's just that we do so much damage. Just gotta get a few good rolls. Okay, that was easier than I thought it would be. Usually gargoyle ghosts are just a pain, just a real pain to take care of. But yeah, along the lines of what I was saying before, I don't know, it's just what you want your game to be. If you want the game to, I mean, maybe you want the game to kill people in the process of figuring out how to play. Oh, I'm gonna finesse, and I'm gonna heroism because that's an Azure Jelly and they're tough. Didn't know they could spawn here actually. But yeah, if someone's learning the game and them dying in the process of learning, like if you think that a person suffering a huge number of losses in the process of playing a game is a good thing in order for them to learn, if you think that that provides them with a better playing experience, a bigger feeling of triumph when they actually do win the game, okay, rad. I mean, that's good. That's good game design. That's awesome game design, actually. Because, I mean, that's really what playing a game is about in a lot of, oh man. In a lot of situations, that is what the whole idea is, that you set your game up in a way that you want the player to have a good time, right? And so every time the player fails, you want it to be building towards something, ideally, so that when they stop failing, they feel real good about it. And I mean, I think Crawl does a really excellent job of that, because there are people who play this game a lot, and they don't win for like literally years. And without spoiling yourself, especially, I don't think it's possible to play this game and win without reading the wiki or reading Beam or just having some kind of documentation available to you. I don't think you could possibly win this game on your first try. I just don't see that. Like, with only having like the manual available to you, there's just no way. I don't believe it. Maybe if you played like a Mibby and you were really careful, but how would you even know how to be careful? I don't know. But anyway, I've been kind of talking about game design and tabbing through a lot of the stuff, but we're actually having a little bit of a rough time, so I'm going to get back to this. I've heroismed and I've finessed. A lot of ice dragons in here, and they're causing me a bit of a problem. I'm trying to keep these guys from walking into my portal. They'll end up down here, which is okay. At least they won't be next to me, but... oh man, he's in there. That's okay. We'll take him out first because he can blow air on us. He can get that bolt of cold, and these guys can't. I really, really have an enduring dislike for ice clouds. Whether they show up in the ice cave or they show up here. It's not to say they're like a bad mechanic or anything, they're just an obnoxious one. Certainly it's doing the job of creating an impaired battlefield. Okay, cool. Let's speculatively make a portal, and I'm glad we did because we just took a lot of damage, so let's get out of here. As you can see, briar patches would be very bad for our attempts to escape if we didn't have portal. But we do, so we're fine. By the way, you can shoot over those briar patches in case it's not obvious. Comes in handy. Okay, yeah, we could probably consider wearing that ice dragon armor, but I don't think we should. There's really, I have no interest in nuking my fire resistance that hard. Just for a little extra AC. Although I do want to swap to Dragon Armor sooner or later. Let's go ahead and pick up. This is just bothering me a bit. I'm just going to grab some arrows here. Thanks, Okawaru. I'll definitely use that sling. Yeah, I'm just going to quaff a potion of flight and grab my arrows here. Okay, good. Alright. So next video we will probably go into Snake Pit. We've got our first rune now. I think you can see how crazy easy this is going with the bow, with the longbow. Snake is not going to be as easy, probably. And one thing we definitely need to watch out for is getting surrounded by guardian serpents. Having a Nagaraja next to us is not a fun time. Getting constricted is not a fun time. And our defenses are not great. I mean, this character is like suicidally offensive. So that's just a thing to keep in mind, that we are not a defensive character. We're like a caster. We have like caster defenses. So definitely want to be careful. We probably want to train armor and dodging soon. And we'll start doing that as soon as Bose is at 22. That's where we'll stop it. We'll then get armor and dodging, just for a little bit of safety. Probably some more fighting too once armor and dodging is up to speed. We have the benefit of, decent apps across the board on human, so that's nice. Okay, well, that'll be it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, I'm signing off.